Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by our primary sponsor, BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, Tony Fairchild, and AJ Fairchild producing in the back this year. So, guys, thanks for joining me today, and another year, and we're getting things rolling for football season.
Crazy. We just talked about it before we come on air about it's been a long time since we've done this, but yet it seems like it was just yesterday too.
Yeah, looking forward to another football season. Get the group back together and watch some good football on Friday nights. Talk about it on Tuesday. So
yeah, and I know we all got together last Friday to do the Tenor Rams live broadcast. You know, we were kind of practicing for our broadcast in the scrimmage, and you know, we were all excited. It was crazy because we were texting each other in a group text, like excited, trying to get out of work early, this and that, and showing up to the stadium and ready to rock and roll. And you know, it's almost like a kid on Christmas now that, you know, Friday night football is coming right around the corner. So definitely excited. And I think it's going to be an exciting year for sure. So we'll get into things here. But before we get going, what's maybe one thing you guys are looking forward to most this 2025 football season? There's a lot of stuff.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see how the Rams do in the GMC. That's one thing. You know, graduated a big class. We'll see if Liberty Center can repeat. You know, back out and get back to the state championship game. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see if anybody can knock Liberty Center off.
yeah, same. I mean, looking forward to GMC battle. Tenor, Fairview, Paulding. Got some new coaches in the WBL. Defiance coach, new coach there. So see how they're going to do this year. Yeah, Liberty Center. I mean, we always have a single eye on Liberty Center, it seems, during our broadcast, seeing, you know, what they're doing. AJ gives us our score updates and whatnot. But, yeah, it's going to be a great season again.
Yeah, and I think for myself, I think the big thing is I'm just excited to see all these teams, and there's a lot more than others that have been hit with adversity from graduation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk about teams, you know, you look at the Eden Bombers, they graduate Kyler Sapp and some of their top wide receivers.
Yep.
I mean, that offense is built on the quarterback position. So
Right.
there's a lot of question marks to be filled. You know, Defiance, there's a lot of keys that left from last year's offense. Guys like Anthony Wilder, Brez Zipfel, guys that have been there a long time, huge playmakers. And, you know, especially when you play in tough conferences, you know, like the WBL and NWOAL, there's a lot of question marks to answer. And if you want to have a successful season, you got to figure those out quick and in a hurry, or, you know, your season's going to turn into a downslide real quick. So,
Right.
I'm just curious to see, you know, and excited to see how teams kind of face that adversity and how they get their season going.
Yep.
All right, let's look at how last year's game prediction results ended. So I had to dig into the files and the archives here a little bit. So just to update you guys, this is how last year's game predictions went. Myself, Logan, finished 181-42 in first place with 81%. Second was Matthew with 177-46, good for 79% win percentage. Third was Tony with 173-50 record, good for 78%. Fourth was AJ with 172-51 record, good for 77%. And Keith was last with 170-53 record, good for 76%. So overall, pretty good from all of us. I mean, we all picked over 75%. So, and I think if you're picking up over the high 70s, I think that actually beats Drew Pasteur's, you know, a lot of his predictions.
Yeah,
I know they usually pick higher 70s, so we're outperforming the algorithm. So
I'm just not
pretty
sure,
impressive.
Keith, if you would have brought this up had you not won. I'm just saying.
Oh, I brought it up to Logan like when we were sitting down when he sent that sent the script out. I was like, good Lord, I finished last. How the heck did that?
I know. I think you
realize
finished
that.
probably top of the pack the last couple of years.
Yeah, I
at
finished
least,
one or
so.
two the last 3 years, I think.
But it's a new year, fresh start. So I mean, everything starts back at zero. So
I got the bragging rights in the family, so
All
play a
right.
game.
Well, we'll get things rolling down to the nitty gritty. Basically, what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of talk a little bit of conference breakdowns. And we're going to start with the Green Meadows Conference. That's the conference we know best. We cover them very, very closely, obviously, you know, with us covering Tenor with Tenor Rams Live. So just breaking things down, we'll kind of cover some of the teams briefly, and then we'll give our predictions on, you know, maybe how we think the conference is going to play out. So this season in the GMC preseason poll, there's 8 teams in the GMC. Coming in first, the coaches voted Fairview with 49 votes, and they received 7 first place votes. Second was Tenor with 41 points. They received 1 first place vote. Third was Paulding. Fourth was Wayne Trace. Fifth was Edgerton. 6 was Ayersville. 7 was Hicksville, and 8 was Antwerp. And just to kind of let you guys know how last year's conference finished, Tenor was first, 7-0. Fairview was 6-1 last year. Paulding was 4-3, tied for third. Edgerton was 4-3, tied for third. Wayne Trace was 4-3, tied for third. So that whole middle of the pack all tied. And then the bottom half was Antwerp, Hicksville, and Ayersville, all 1-6 records. So, guys, I guess kind of looking at that from the start, we'll get things going from this. What do you guys think about that GMC preseason coaches poll?
I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, I think Fairview is obviously the front runner. Everybody's looking at them this year. I mean, even though Sonora knocked them off last year, but I really think that was kind of a fluke. Fairview just kind of lost their way at halftime.
I mean, let's be honest. That was Fairview lost that game.
Yeah.
I mean, they were up.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
they were dominating that game.
Yeah.
And they just kind of shot themselves in the foot. I mean, Fairview had everything going at halftime, and that was the only game that put them out of a GMC title. And
right.
like you had said, the kickoff show, we got to talk to those players, and they're hungry this year.
So they think about it every second of practice. Well, it was 28-7 at half, and we were thinking that William Zedek was going to set a record for passing yards in a game. He had 392 yards at the half. I mean, that's just incredible. Yeah, with a whole second half to go, and he torched the Rams secondary. So, yeah, it was a heck of a game last year. So.
Yeah, but I really think that the poll, Sonora setting it too. I really think after. Again, Fairview, I think, is the clear front runner. And then after that, Sonora, Paulding, and Wayne Trace kind of, in my opinion, kind of up in the air a little bit. We'll see what Sonora's got. They lost a lot of talent last year, a lot of players. So we'll see how they snap back. But we know Paulding's got a lot of athletes. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I just want to kind of touch on Fairview a little bit more. I know we talked about these teams, but just kind of breaking down some things. And I said Fairview, they have one of the deepest skilled groups and probably all in Northwest Ohio. When you got guys like Logan Olinger, I mean, last year he threw up 80 receptions for 1,317 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. First team All Ohio type guy. You pair him with William Zedek for part two, coming back for Will's senior year and Logan's junior year. That's a deadly combo. Then you got Gavin Mead. He throws in 801, receiving yards, 9 receiving touchdowns, and Brody Williams too, with 39 catches for 7 receiving touchdowns and almost 600 receiving yards. I mean, that group is so deep at the receiver position at Fairview. And I keep telling everyone this, like, if you want a good football team to go watch and that are going to light up the scoreboard and have a lot of fun while they're doing it, go watch the Fairview Apaches.
Yeah.
I said that with Miles Holiday on 93.1 The Fan a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
He asked, what's one team in the area that maybe is, kind of under the radar, people may not know about that should keep an eye on. I said, no hesitation, Fairview Apaches this year, because I got a chance to watch them, last year against Sonora, last year in the playoffs. There's a lot of good talent. The biggest question for them is, can they replace that offensive line? Right. They lose 4 of the 5 offensive line starters. Last year, I think they struggled a little bit on offensive line. That's what got them hurt, I think, in the playoffs against Ottawa Hills. A lot of pressure for Zedek. But, if they get a good starting 5 up front, they're going to take care of business this year for sure.
Yeah. Then you got Drayton Grinnell Dennis back, missed all last year.
Yeah.
They talked about him maybe carrying the ball quite a bit this year and should be a good defensive player as well. And special teams got one of the better kickers back in the league, if not in the area, and Lindrick Vandermeide. So I think he was nearly perfect in extra points last year.
Yeah,
big leg for him as well. So
and we've always talked, about that third aspect of the game. If you can bring some sort of a special teams force, whether that be in the punt game, or even field goal kicking, it just pays dividends so much, especially when you get to those, close, tight games, where, maybe you don't want to really go for the touchdown and you could just take the 3 points and walk away with it. Because at the end of the day, everything adds up, and, the little details like that are, what could possibly make a team anywhere from 7-3 to, 3-7. So,
right. Yeah. And you mentioned that, Logan, jumping right into Sonora, they lost Jacob Bishop. They lost a big, like you said, third power there that you've got in the kicking game. And, not only was he, awesome at field goals, but kickoffs. He was always kicking the ball deep or into the end zone. Punts, he was awesome at punting. So, I mean, just all around aspect kicking there. That's going to be a huge loss for Sonora. Like you said, when they get down close, it was just always, Jacob's been, pretty spot on and getting down there close. You're just like, we'll just take the 3.
Yeah. Well, they won the Wayne Trace game on a field goal. That went into overtime and won it on a field goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and then that's going to be a big change for Sonora. Now they're going to it's going to put a lot of pressure on Coach Becker to like, I'm just going to go kick the 3. It's going to have to let's start thinking through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Continuing with Sonora, I think the big thing for them is they lose a lot of senior leadership last year. They lose guys like Alex Homeyer, the career record holder and season record holder for sacks for Tenora, and actually beating Coach Becker too. So that was pretty cool to witness last
cool
year.
to see last year.
Guys like Alex Schaublin, Hunter Bosselman. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the guys. Yeah. But I think I'm excited. Graziani too. The big thing too, we talked about it on Friday night with Tenora, is I'm excited to see the growth that Owen Farrell takes from sophomore Owen Farrell to junior Owen Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
We saw him really grow as the season went, was very poised in the pocket. I think I was really impressed too, when he'd get pressured, he tended to make a lot of good decisions, especially as a sophomore. When kids are younger and an underclassman, they tend to make, terrible mistakes. They may try to make a throw on the run, throw across the body, which those are always dangerous throws.
Yep.
He threw the ball away, burned it when he needed to last season. So I think he's got a lot of potential. And we said too, he's got a lot of room for growth. And one kind of interesting stat that I pulled out was actually he had the most passing yards in a season for a Tenora quarterback since 2015 when Brevin Renolette threw for 1,527 passing yards. And that year, Brevin played 13 games.
Wow.
Owen threw for 1,368 passing yards. And that was only through
11 games.
11 games, but he didn't even start the first couple.
Right,
he's not until week 4.
Yeah,
X4.
Yes. But and for me, the guy that is really going to make this team go and impress me more than anyone else last Friday night at the scrimmage was Cooper Rapogel, running back and linebacker. That kid, hats off to him. I mean, he played with a relentless effort, ran to the football, running the ball. I mean, he hit the hole so hard. And he's out there giving it his all. And I think that's what impressed me the most. I think the biggest question for Tenora is, can they give that effort, the entire team 110% every single play. So especially when they start off with Liberty Center week 1, the details matter. I mean, everything matters.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Logan, and Tony as well. Attention to detail, and every single play, you got to play like it's your last play. You just can't take a play off. That's the key, especially week 1. I mean, that's you better put the quadruple chin strap on in week 1 because Liberty Center is going to come out and hit Liberty Center hit.
Yeah.
That's their motto. That's what they say.
On a swivel.
But yeah, we watched Tenora last Friday night against Elmwood. Elmwood struggled the last few years, but running game looked very good. Cooper Replogle, and Coach really high on Doug Hadamer. We saw him have a couple nice runs
that came over from Defiance.
Yes, Abram Jimenez came in, got some carries as well. Dylan Shiley's in midseason form already.
Yeah, Dylan Shiley broke off a 75-yard touchdown.
I think he had
pass.
2 or 3 touchdown passes. Did he not?
Logan says let's run a 2-minute offense with 1:30 or something like that on the clock, and they throw a
75-yard
touchdown pass.
One play.
I guess that's a 2-minute offense.
Yep. Got Josh Lieb as well on the offensive end. So I think the Rams will be fine offense, as Logan said. Looks like Owen is ready to make the next step, or two steps, honestly. He looked very poised, made the right reads Friday night, stepped in the pocket when he needed to step up. So defensively, we'll see, as Logan pointed out as well, just a lot of losses. I mean, guys we've seen play for 3-4 years on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see what the Rams can adapt defensively. Special teams as well, as Coach said. Parker Hancock's going to be the kicker and punter. He made all of his extra point attempts Friday night, so didn't really get to see a lot of punts. But we'll see. We'll see what Sonora has this year. Always looking forward to what the Rams have.
And I think Coach Becker, kind of stated it in his quote. They're going to have to limit the big plays defensively. I think that's going to be their big thing, is especially when they get against teams like Liberty Center, Fairview, being able to match up with those receivers you were just talking about. That's going to be big for Sonora, trying to match up, because they're going to have a lot of youth out there, a lot of inexperience. So they're going to have to learn quickly.
And on the defense, I'm just looking at some of the stats from some of the kids that left last year. Just from about 4 of the kids, combined 30+ sacks for the season, and you're gone without that on defense. I mean, that's a tough break, but I know Coach Casey Helton, their defensive coordinator. I know he's going to right the ship. And statistically, that defense has improved in terms of yardage and points every single year that he's been there too. So he's done a very nice job, very knowledgeable of the game. And Casey does a really good job with coaching up the kids. So I don't think the defense, I think they'll get it figured out. And plus, Tenora has always been known for their stout defense too. Right. So there's a strong tradition in that part. But,
Carter Radzik, maybe not to overlook Carter, but he was first team all conference as a freshman.
Yeah.
As last year fell back, because he was double teamed, I think a lot. Yeah. Was only second team. So Carter going into his third years as a starter on defense as well. So we expect big things out of Carter Radzik. So
I think it's could be detrimental to Carter is that he lost Hunter Bossman beside him. Yeah. So that's going to be a big.
And they're going to be double teamed again.
Yeah, they're going to be able to double team him easier this time unless somebody else steps up. So,
yeah, I think the last comment I have with Tenora is that combination between Owen Farrell and Dylan Shively has the potential to be one of the top, possibly one of the top 3 quarterback wide receiver connections in the conference and, possibly the area too. Think of Will Zedike and Logan Olinger. We're going to get to Paulding here next, but, you think of Colt Hunt and Blake Roanhouse, but, you got to be throwing Owen Farrell and Dylan Shively's name
Shively's
into
got
those
some
combinations.
size on him, and he made a lot of athletic catches last year, and he made a couple good ones Friday night too.
Yeah, and I had a chance to go to that 7-on-7 at Defiance and watch, Fairview was there, Tenora was there, Antwerp was there, Eden was there, but some of the plays that Dylan Shively made, especially down in the red zone, in the goal line area, incredible. Like the way he was able to, really kind of out physical some of the defensive backs and get himself open and create space in the end zone. It was some higher level stuff that I was surprised to see out of him, and that's a good thing. I mean, especially if you can open up that playbook a little bit down in the goal line. Right. We always talk about not getting cute and running the ball, but every now and then you got to mix in a pass down in the goal line. But you get a big body receiver, 6'1" like that can is able to out physical guys down in crunch time. Right. That's a good threat to have.
Yeah, it kind of uses his basketball ability a little bit on the receiving end, kind of boxes the defensive back out. So.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. We'll kind of touch on Paulding here next. Another team that's expected to be, towards the top of the league in the GMC. Guys, I told you before we got on the podcast, the one player I got to mention, well, there's 2 from Paulding, that I just don't think is getting enough love is Blake Roanhouse. I hear a lot of talk, about the Mans brothers, which rightfully so. They're very talented. They're solid. But you can't forget about Blake Roanhouse. He's the only all-Ohio player returning back to this Paulding Panthers offense. And, this is a kid too that we asked the players on Paulding on our kickoff show just last week. We asked, who's the most competitive player on the team? Without hesitation, who do they all say? Blake Roanhouse. And they said it doesn't matter what it is, what sport, whatever they're doing, Blake Roanhouse. And, that's who I want on my team, is someone who's going to be competitive like that in every single aspect. But, Blake Roanhouse brings back a huge amount of production for the Paulding offense. And again, Paulding's offense is loaded. I mean, outside of Fairview, Fairview and Paulding by far have the most offensive production back this year. They bring back Blake Roanhouse, 53 receptions, 848 receiving yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. Another big wide receiver, 6'1". He's also the GMC Boys Basketball Player of the Year too. A lot of athleticism from him. You bring back Jordan Mans, 42 receptions, 471 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. Jalen Mans, 22 receptions, 289 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. But the other key to this offense is their running back, Avery Cooper. And he's coming back. I believe he's just a junior this year, but great sophomore season, 127 carries, 662 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns. The kid averaged 5.21 yards a carry. He was a second-team GMC selection as just a sophomore, and I believe he was also second in the GMC in rushing touchdowns, or third, I believe, outside of Joel Walkup from Edgerton and Torrin Knieven from Ayersville. So, like I told Coach Jim Menzie, he was talking about all the threats and, talking about getting everyone the ball and, spreading the love on offense. I said, well, that's a good problem to have. If you're having issues, I'm trying to figure out who you want to disperse the football to.
Well, actually, Logan, if you eliminate the quarterbacks for both Paulding and Fairview, you could actually argue that Paulding has better offensive skilled players. Yeah. I mean, piece for piece. So, but yeah, we'll see what Paulding. I'm looking forward to following them as well. I mean, they're an offensive explosion team.
Starting quarterback, starting running back, top wide receivers. The only thing that they have going against them is they lose 4 offensive linemen. Holt Bashore is a second-team GMC, Luke Beckman, Matt Bale, and then, of course, Jack Woods, which it was also a great asset to that team, and at the linebacker position too. So,
statistically, though, you talk about the offense, statistically, defensively, points per game, they were the number one team in the GMC last year. So, allowing only 12.8 points a game. So, Paulding could be a spoiler for some teams if they're not paying attention.
And the thing with that Paulding defense is ever since they've had this kind of changing of the guard with the coaches over the last couple of years, and Coach Jim Menzies done a great job at turning things around, Paulding defense has been solid. I even remember talking to my brother Bryce, when Bryce was playing, he graduated just a couple of years ago. But he even said Paulding hit unlike any other team.
Yep.
And those kids play physical. You go out there on Friday night, and we've watched them play before. I mean, you hear helmets cracking every single time, and you're not only getting hit by one guy, you're getting hit by 2, 3, 4 guys to the football every single time. But that defense is coached up very, very well. And, I think it all starts with Coach Jim Menzie, and, he's really changed the attitude of that team. Like he said, too, those guys are bought in, and that's what you need to flip a program around. I mean, you need 110% buy-in from coaches, players, fans, parents. Everyone has to buy in, and you're really starting to see that from Paulding, especially a couple years in with the new coach.
Yeah, it seems like Coach Menzie is pretty much a no-nonsense guy. I mean, really, we've interviewed him 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and I'm sure he's cracked a smile, but it seems like he just lays out the facts, and we're just going to put the helmet on helmet, and we're going to go play ball, boys. Let's go. Yep. So, yeah, Coach Menzie, definitely a hard-nosed coach, it seems like.
We'll keep things rolling. We'll kind of touch on some of the other GMC teams here. Looking at Wayne Trace a little bit, really don't know what we're going to get out of him this year. We know that they lost wide receiver defensive back Tyler Head to graduation. He was honorable mention wide receiver, second team defensive back in the GMC. But they only returned 2 all-conference players from a year ago, and Lance Whitman, running back and linebacker. He was second-team GMC linebacker, honorable mention running back. He's coming back as a senior. And the only other conference player they bring back is Clay Stoller, defensive back. He was honorable mention GMC last year. So I know one thing that they're really going to hang themselves on, and pride themselves on is that defense. That defense, you talk about Paulding. Outside of Paulding, Wayne Trace gave some teams fits last year. Yeah. And, they gave up just 10.6 points per game on defense to the conference opponents. And they had 3 shutouts in the GMC last year against Edgerton, Antwerp, and Hicksville.
And only allowed the 3 points in overtime versus the Rams.
Versus Tenora. But that's one thing Wayne Trace is going to do. And I was very impressed that all the movement and the chaos that they caused on the defensive side of the football. How many times did they stunt their defensive linemen? They were bringing pressure from the outside, from the inside. They just kept offenses on their toes the entire time, and especially at the high school level. And I'm surprised I don't see this more from teams. I mean, I get it. I mean, you don't always want to be ultra aggressive, but let's be honest. How many offensive lines in high school in Northwest Ohio are going to be able to pick up, complex blitzes, complex stunts? When you start throwing things like that, I mean, that's tough to pick up, especially, to pass off like TN or NT, at tackle and guard. It takes a lot of, obviously correct footwork at offensive line and a lot of communication, and that stuff can get tough. And that's why Wayne Trace had some success on defense last year.
Yep. And they had the dual quarterbacks. They had Moorhead and Schoenauer in and out, seems like every other game or whatnot. And offensively they struggled a bit. Defensively they brought it. So we'll see what the Raiders have this year as well. But they should finish mid to lower in the GMC, I'm thinking. Offensively, they're still going to struggle, I believe.
Yeah, and every Wayne Trace game, we always talk about it. It was AJ's favorite thing to talk about is turnovers, the turnover margins. Yeah. We'll see how they do this year.
And playing at Wayne Trace is always it's a tough place to play at for whatever reason. I don't know if it's all the red flashing lights and the windmills you see out on the distance.
Burger smell in the air, Logan.
Yeah, or the
players are hungry during the
fog from the burgers coming across the field. Geez, I think last year when we were there, that smoke reached us all the way up in the press box when we were broadcasting. So, Wayne Trace is an interesting one. Again, I'm curious to see who they're going to bring. They're going to be younger, obviously, too. But a lot of big questions to fill this year, especially when you lose a guy like Tyler Head. He made a bunch of big plays last year for them, and was kind of the spark that really ignited them when they needed it most. So Wayne Trace, I definitely foresee them, being somewhere in the middle of the pack for sure.
Yeah, Tyler Head was like a do-it-all. I mean,
he was.
He was everywhere on every single play, it seemed like. So.
All right, we'll keep things rolling. Let's move on to Edgerton, just touching on them again. Coach Flagle's in his 6th year with the Bulldogs, 24-26 record at Edgerton. Last year, Edgerton was pretty interesting. I know they had a couple interesting wins. I know they beat Paulding, and Paulding was the favorite going into that game, and kind of Coach Menzie had said on her kickoff show, he wasn't going to make any excuses. I mean, they came out, Edgerton was ready to play, and they just gave it to Paulding. But I really think the Edgerton Bulldogs are going to be the team in the GMC this year where they are they're the one that's I think are going to shock a lot of people. They've got potential there. They return quarterback Maddox Baker. This is going to be his third year starting at quarterback, so they bring experience there. They got a couple weapons here or there, in Carter Gibson, Kellen Sanchez. So they definitely have some threats, but I think they could really make some noise in the GMC this year.
I love Edgerton. I love going there. Love Coach Flago, but I'm going to disagree with Logan on that one. I think Fairview's going to Edgerton is just going to struggle a lot. They lost a lot of key offensive players. Got Maddox Baker returning, but they just lost a lot of talent on that team.
Scotty Krantz,
Joe Walkup. I mean, it's hard to replace players like that at a small school. And like I said, Edgerton's one of my favorite teams to follow. Respect everything about the Bulldog program, but I just think they lost so much due to graduation. It's going to be, at least initially out of the gate, first 3-4 weeks, it's going to be tough for them because they were one of the more funner offenses to follow last year, where they averaged 31, 32 points a game.
I think.
I mean, they were just outscoring opponents right and left, but it's hard to replace players, Scotty Krantz, Joe Walkup, Corey Herman, like those three right there. I mean, those are three of the better players in the GMC. So we have Maddox Baker, talented quarterback, but he's probably going to just have to do it all himself this year, I think. At least initially.
The other thing that helps him, though, too, I will say this, is I believe they returned 4 returning upperclassmen offensive linemen that have experience. So, I mean, that's going to help him, too, tremendously. And I've been saying this, before the season even started, after, kind of watching some of the offensive lines last year, the team that has a solid offensive line is really going to dominate in the area. Last year, I think a lot of the offensive lines were down. But, anytime you can return 4 guys up front, with experience, and especially being an upperclassman with that leadership. I mean, that's going to pay dividends too. And
they lost Braden Leppelmeyer back there. Seemed like he intercepted
the
ball every other game or every game, literally.
Third team All-Ohio as well. Yeah. Just kind of looking real quick too, because I wanted to check this. One thing with Edgerton is they do put themselves in a position to succeed. To start off their schedule, Eden, Hilltop, Montpelier, 3 winnable games that they could come out of the non-conference schedule 3-0. Then you play Antwerp, Wayne Trace, Ayersville, and then they play all the tough ones at the back half of the schedule. So, maybe they could find, a little bit of a groove and get some momentum going, and
kind of like Delta or Evergreen did last year. You get off to a decent start and
kind of go on a streak on the back half of the season. So, all right, keep things rolling. Let's move on to Ayersville next. Ayersville had a tough go-around last season. They finished the season 1-9. The only win came against Hicksville. We talked to Coach Mickey in the kickoff show. He understands. He took a lot of blame for himself. And, that takes a lot to say of, basically, how they were kind of forcing some things and maybe not putting their players in the best position to succeed. I think, obviously they did a lot of growing last year. I'm sure, Coach Mickey as a coach, the players did too, but I can tell you one thing. I don't think Ayersville is going to be back at 1-9. I mean, I think that's going to burn, for years to come. Ayersville is a very prideful program. They've got a long-lasting history of, some excellent football over there. But, they return all 5 offensive line starters led by offensive lineman Caden Boer. It was first-team GMC last season. And tell you what, though, he's a big boy. Being, I think, probably 6'3", 265 pounds. That's a solid piece of Ayersville beef over there.
I think I stood next to him during the photo when I was like, good Lord, you're a big dude. I'm going to run behind this guy.
He's a solid-looking offensive lineman, so I'm excited to see what he does. I always love following offensive linemen. That always holds a special place in my heart. I really like offensive line because obviously I played that, but two, that's the one position on the field where you really don't get a lot of credit. You go out, you do the work each and every night, and it may not always get to showcase, in the newspapers or the media and stuff like that. So I always like to highlight those kids for sure. So, Tony, what are your thoughts on the Pilots going in this year?
It can go either way. I mean, you're going to have to see what they're going to bring back as running back. And to replace Knieven, and which I think they got some looks because Knieven was hurt for a while there, and they've got some people that are going to step in, and that offensive line could be big for them, but it's still going to come down to defensively and see what they can see if they can stop everybody else. And I don't think they're going to win any kind of shootouts, but last year they gave up 40 points a game, on average. So, to me, it's more defensively than offensively. If they can control the line of scrimmage and keep teams like Tenora from running the ball on them, or if they can play with a team like Ayersville and defend, the top.
Yeah.
Not let Fairview get over top of them. So it'll be interesting defensively. I think it's going to be more of my take on Ayersville.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see who really steps up at running back for them, because I'm sure they're still going to want to run the rock a lot, especially with 5 offensive linemen up front. But I was looking too. Torrance even had so much production for those guys. Out of 1,688 total yards of Ayersville's offense, Torrance accounted for 1,107 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So it's a lot of offense from one guy.
Absolutely.
That's lost to graduation. So
I think Coach Mickey was high on Eli Berner. He talked a little bit. So, and
like he said too, you're not going to necessarily. They're not looking at replacing guys, like Torrance Knieven, because they did Torrance Knieven things. But it's a next man up mentality, and you got to fulfill those roles and try to do what you're coached to do, and make the most of it. So, touching on just a couple last GMC schools here, Hicksville. Hicksville again hit pretty hard to graduation. They returned first-team GMC running back Cross Seedike, had 500-plus rushing yards last season, 7 rushing touchdowns. But, they lose guys like Brant Langham, and he was a guy, too, last year. So explosive.
Yes.
One of the most explosive players in the GMC, probably group him up there with, Scotty Krantz, guys like that.
Yeah, he tried to single-handedly beat Sonora.
Yeah, really. I know.
Returning kickoffs, punts. He was doing everything on offense, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, so...
Yeah, and Hicksville loses guys like Owen Stuckey. He was a second-team GMC player as well. And then they lose, a lot of offensive linemen, Bronson Graber, Owen Joyner, Zach Shuley. And some of those guys had conference accolades. Only bringing up 2 offensive linemen up front. They bring back J.J. Avalos, honorable mention GMC guard, and Jaden Castillo. But, they did see some improvement last year. Improved points total by, I believe, 32%, rushing yards by 43%. So it's good to see that production. But again, Hicksville just they haven't posted a winning GMC record since 2019.
That's hard to believe because, when you played Logan, even before that, Hicksville was always the top of the GMC.
It's
1, 2, or 3.
Berth, I think, in 2011 as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll just be, it'll be with them, how they're going to replace those starters.
Now let's look at the last team in the GMC here. We're looking at Antwerp. Again, a team that, just like Keith said with Hicksville, just a few years ago, Antwerp was the king of the GMC. Yeah. They had guys like Carson Altimus and, Landon Brewer and guys that would just tear things up on the football field. But, as every small school knows, you get those generational type classes to come through, and then you got to try to reload and follow that up, and it's tough. Yep. Coach Jason Hale's done a great job at, really handling all the ups and downs, that Antwerp's face. But they return 8 offensive linemen with experience last year, so another team that's got some experience coming back up front. They do return. They're starting offensive line, quarterback, and running back, so they bring back Zach Salas, 82 carries, 323 rushing yards with 2 rushing touchdowns. And they also bring back Thomas Van Kirk, 38 carries, 241 rushing yards. I think the big thing, though, it's nice that they're bringing back experience, but they've got to improve production. Last year they averaged only 2.8 yards a carry running the football, and especially when you lose guys to graduation like Winslow and Shull. Yep. You're going to have to really rely on that rushing attack to at least open up something for your passing game. So.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries last year as well. I think Antwerp could be one of the surprise teams in the GMC this year. I think they could finish 5-5 overall. A lot of experience coming back, as you said, Logan. I think Hampton Rogi's back at quarterback. A couple players carrying the ball. Gage Clevenger as well. Could be someone to come out of nowhere to spark the Archers this year. But, they were so good for so long, and it's just sad to see them, like you said, just talented classes like that don't come along that often. And when you lose them, that's a lot to replace.
Yeah, it's small school battles, right?
Yeah.
You have a good classes come along every once in a while, not trying to maintain it, which is, that's your better teams, tend to do that. So, Antwerp will be another one that, see how the defensive line does. They should be strong up front and see if they can run the ball. I mean, that's basically what's going to boil down to.
I think the one star and, really bright side that Antwerp has, they've got a young stud. He's going to be a junior this year. Is Keegan Gray Wyckoff.
Oh, yeah.
First team GMC defensive lineman, honorable mention, offensive lineman. He's listed at 6'6", 265. So another big boy. Quite a bit of production last year as just a sophomore, 79.5 tackles, 16 TFLs, 7.5 sacks. So anytime you can get a threat like that on your team, that's a huge blessing. But I tell you what, though, I'm excited to see Ayersville and Antwerp play, to see Caden Boer and Keegan go at it. That would be something to see. So I'm going to have to get a hold of that film to see how that matchup ends. Because, those are two of the top dogs and top offensive defensive linemen in the GMC, and they're going to be going at it. And that's going to be one heck of a battle, I tell you what.
Yep.
So after all that being said, we got to tell, who our conference champion prediction is. So I don't know. Tony, Keith, you guys want to start it? I'll save mine for last. Keith, you want to go?
Fairview took the coaches poll. Sonora finished second. Paulding third. So let's just focus on those top three. Fairview has a lot coming back offensively. Paulding's the same. A lot coming back offensively. The Rams, a lot coming back offensively. Lost a lot on defense. Rams have won 12 straight conference games. And they travel to the reservation this year at Fairview. I think Fairview goes to Paulding this year. I think Paulding can. I think actually they play them back to back. I think Fairview plays Tenora, then Paulding mid-season.
Let me check for you. Fairview plays Tenora week 1, 2, 3, 4, week 5, and they are home, and then they go to Paulding week 6.
Okay, so that's two huge games right there for Fairview back to back. I'm saying we're going to have a three-way tie in the GMC between Tenora, Fairview, and Paulding. They're all going to be 6-1. I think Fairview, this Tenora game's just eating at them so much that I think Tenora beats Fairview at Fairview, but then the next week, well, then they have two conference losses. So, yeah, I think we got a three-way tie at 6-1. I think Tenora beats Fairview at Fairview.
Wow.
I think Tenora, they're going to be tough to stop
I can
offensively.
Tell you're tough.
So I think we're having a three-way tie.
I think I agree with you. I think it's going to be a three-way tie. I think each one's going to win. I think Fairview will beat Sonora will beat Paulding, and I think Paulding's going to beat Fairview.
That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
What Coach Fairchild just said.
I think that's what's going to happen. I agree with you. That's what I was thinking. The same thing. I think you're going to be having a three-way tie across the top there.
Yeah,
I think that's reasonable, but
you want to pick somebody. I know.
I got to pick someone. I can't say another three-way tie.
We've had it. Well, the Rams finished undefeated last year, but we had a three-way tie. I think about the previous 2 or 3 years before that.
Yeah, no kidding. I think your guys' guess is definitely very plausible, but I got to go Fairview Apaches. I had a chance to watch them in the playoffs too, and seeing what they've been putting in and their athletes. I think this is the year that they're going to finally piece things together. I think this is the year too. If you're the Apaches, again, we talked just a couple minutes ago about Antwerp having some of these generational classes come through and athletes. Will Zedike's one of those guys there at Fairview at the quarterback position. You pair him up with junior, like Logan Olinger and Brody Williams, and there's a lot of other good receivers as well too. Garza and guys like that.
Yep.
If they can protect Zedike, again, it's coming down to offensive line play. I tell you what,
didn't they lose all 4?
Yeah,
4 or 5.
They did. So they got a lot to replace. But if they can give Zedike time back in the pocket, he's going to make some good decisions with the football. And especially with Coach Rakes there, does a phenomenal job with the kids. The kids are bought in. You could just hear how hungry those guys are. I think this is the year they do it. If they can provide time for Zedike in the pocket, and if they can figure out a couple more things on the defensive side of the football, which again, I believe they bring back quite a few defensive backs too. Just looking real quick. I know Zedike was back there, Logan Olinger. I'm trying to see who else. I know they bring back a couple other guys on the defensive side of the football. John Huffman, another guy. He had 44 tackles last year. Garza at linebacker. Like you said, Drayden Grinnell Dennis is back too after injury. That's a huge pickup for them. So I think they're gonna do big things this year, and I think they're gonna win the GMC. I really do. They've got a lot of talent, and I there's no way I could pick another tie after you guys pick that either. But if they do that, they develop a little bit more of the run game, which we saw more towards the back half of the season. They were actually running Olinger quite a bit. I kind of like that. Put the ball in the hands of one of your best athletes on the team and let him go at it. And then they did just that. So my prediction, I'm going Fairview Apaches for GMC title champions. So, all right. Well, we're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with some NWOAL talk.
BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Looking for a personalized financial guidance right here in Bryan, Ohio? Meet Melissa R. Stockman, CHFC, a trusted Edward Jones financial advisor. Melissa specializes in retirement savings and income strategies, estate and legacy planning, customizable wealth strategies, insurance and annuities, and support for entrepreneurs and business owners. As a chartered financial consultant, she brings deep expertise and care in building financial plans tailored to your goals. Ready to take your next financial step? Call Melissa's office at 419-633-0647 or visit Edward Jones on 130 North Main Street, Bryan, to get started. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning programs. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Fitzenreiter HVAC, keeping Northwest Ohio comfortable since 1955. Whether it's scorching summer heat or bitter winter cold, Fitzenreiter has your back with expert heating, cooling, and indoor air quality solutions for your residential and commercial needs. Need fast, reliable service? Call the local pros you can trust. Fitzenreiter HVAC. Give them a call today at 419-784-0828 or visit fitzenreiterhvac.com for more info. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at NWOBball.com.
Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we're rolling into NWOAL talk. And actually, it's the 100th season of the NWOAL too, so a lot of history awesome. Here. I think it's Ohio's oldest, right?
Yep.
So we'll get into the nitty gritty here. Just looking at the NWOAL coaches poll, again, I don't think there's a lot of surprise here. You kind of knew right away some of the top teams that were coming in this season. Number 1, Liberty Center with 49 points, 7 first-place votes. Second was Patrick Henry with 43 points and 1 first-place vote, followed by Archbold and Delta tied for 3rd, Wauseon for 5th, Evergreen for 6th, Bryan for 7th, Swanton for 8th. And obviously last year we know the reigning NWOAL champ is Liberty Center, with Patrick Henry finishing 2nd. So, guys, hit the ground running here, and let's maybe talk some Liberty Center football right off the bat.
Yeah, it's just, Liberty Center is just Liberty Center right now, and they just keep reloading. And I know we talked after 2 years ago, and then man, I tell you what, they lose a lot of talent. And then last year they made it to the state championship game and almost won that thing. So they just keep reloading. And Coach Muller said they had 67 kids out. That's just got a lot to choose from. When you have that many kids, you have a lot to choose from. So you get to see a lot of different faces on the field, and you get to pick the people that are going to go out there and bust their butt and fly to the football, as you were saying earlier. Right. So, Liberty Center is going to be good again this year. People were talking that they're going to be even better. I can't believe that, but Jesus.
Yeah, we've said that the last 3 or 4 straight years. There's no way they can be better than they were the year before.
Yeah.
No, they can't be better, but they every year, other than winning the state title. So. I really can't say too much more about Liberty Center. 56-6 the last 4 years. Coach Muller's 91-12. They got talent after talent after talent every single year. as Coach Fairchild said, every year you think they're not going to be better, but they always prove everybody wrong and they're better somehow. So they don't replace, they just replenish. It's unbelievable. So
one stat you have on here, Logan, Liberty Center's outscored their opponents 2,180 to 540 since they lost the 2021 loss to Archbold.
That's incredible.
Just unbelievable when you look at that. But yeah, they got a lot of talent returning. I mean,
yeah, and I think, from talking to some Liberty Center people, it sounds like, again, they've got all the pieces to the puzzle, but the big question is, how do things kind of fit right into place? They got a lot of athletes. Thomas Moeller's back, senior this year. Garrison Cruz, he's getting offers already from, some looks from some Division I programs. Again, another big asset. Bring back one of the biggest offensive lines probably in Liberty Center football history. Hunter Spangler, Kellen Weimer, possibly Gabe Clapp, Sawyer Bachman, Logan Swift-Fuentes, Deegan Schwager. I think if you look across the board, the average height and weight is probably 6'2", probably 250 pounds.
yeah,
Massive
like a small college line.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all those guys can move too. I mean, that's the big thing with Kellen Weimer. He goes out there and runs 4.8 40 is what I heard too, and that's helping him get a lot of looks. So I mean, these aren't big blobs on the offensive line. These are guys that can move some bodies, and they're going to do it, and they're going to cause a lot of pain along the way too. So a lot of pieces. I'm just curious to see how they put everything together. Again, I've heard that from multiple people. They're just wondering how they can mesh everything together, be on the same page, and sometimes that is hard. They may not say it too, but I mean, they've had a lot of success the last couple of years, and there's got to be some outside pressure on that to go out and perform. And, I don't think that's going to affect them too much, but still at the same time, back-to-back state title appearances and, come up just short. I think they're hungry this year. Again, it seems like, we say this every single year. They lose so much to graduation, but then they just keep reloading every single season. I think they're going to do, have another great year this year. They're obviously the heavy favorite in the NWOAL, and with Coach Moeller, and we kind of talked about, I believe, Friday on our broadcast. What a better. I don't think I could name a better coach to fit that position. Since he's taken over.
Yep.
Like Tony said, he's 91-12 in his 9th year. Absolutely incredible. I mean, he's already setting off to possibly a Hall of Fame career. Following up their former coach in Rex Lindgren, who's already a Hall of Fame football coach, but. Yeah, I'm excited to watch them. Again, they do things the right way, and that's the thing I like about them. Again, there's no question about our guys hustling, our guys giving 110%. They're extremely well coached, one of the better coaching staffs in entire Northwest Ohio, and I mean, it really shows on Friday nights.
And we talk about offense, defense, head coach. Hey, we're forgetting about my favorite thing to talk about, special teams, Max Walker. Hey, we need a 45-yard field goal. Let's just trot Max Walker out there now. I mean, so... you lose Ian Rosebrock, and you got Max Walker coming in. Yeah. So when he kicked that long field goal, was it during the semifinals or the
state championship?
Yeah, the championship game. I mean, good Lord. Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think Liberty Center is going to do just fine. Look at last year, too. Forced 30 turnovers, including 20 interceptions. Granted, they do lose a lot of that in first-team All-Ohio defensive back Cam Colley. But, I think guys step up and they fill in those roles just fine. All right, let's move on to Patrick Henry. Again, another team we followed really closely. Coach I gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, coming up this year. Awesome. So another great coach in the NWOAL. But, they've got some questions to fill. Anytime you lose a guy like Lincoln Krieger, just excellent on the offensive side of the ball at quarterback, defensive side. He was just all over the field making plays. I think the big question, obviously, for them is, who are they going to throw back there at quarterback, and what kind of production can they get?
Yeah, anytime you lose Lincoln Krieger headed to Northwestern, that's a huge loss. I mean, can't replace him. That's the thing. Even though he didn't really throw the ball a lot, he was just a tank back there as a running quarterback. Right. Once he hit that line, he just bounced off, found the hole, and then he just escaped out of nowhere. So, see what Tristan has to offer, but not much experience back there. Couple good receivers, got Kiefer Holloway, and hey, we can't forget about Reed, Lincoln's brother. Yeah, right. So he's kind of the unknown in all this. I mean, we really haven't talked or heard much about Reed. So heck of an athlete. So
he's getting offers from Division I schools, I believe, for basketball as well.
He's a heck of a basketball player, no doubt about it. But yeah, I mean, Reed could be the sleeper in all this as far as an offensive threat.
defensively they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to be a different look offensively, without Krieger there, but defensively they're still going to be stout. And as you got down here, one of the best linemen in the area with Grant Smith, he's going to be a beast in there. They're going to try to double team him and stuff, but he's still going to make his plays. It's just going to come down to you've lost Krieger and Jaden Punches, and we watched those guys pick off passes in the playoff games as we were following them, and that's where it's going to be, is that defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's going to be the main thing on the team that makes the engine go, is Grant Smith on defense. I mean, he's coming up. I think he's got 50 career sacks. He's a 2-time first team All Ohio football player. Should be a 3rd-time first team All Ohio football player, which I mean, I don't ever really hear of someone being a 3-time first team All Ohio football player. That's absolutely incredible. Right. Grant Smith is going to do big things his senior year. I know he is. I had a chance to watch some film from him from some other games, and his get off as a defensive lineman is one of the better ones that I've seen in a long time out of Northwest Ohio. Very, very athletic. He's got long arms, and he uses that leverage to his advantage too. And he gives a lot of offensive lineman fits. And I can tell you what, though, I would love to see him again go against Liberty Center offensive lineman, because that's going to be a battle. But man, oh man, is Grant Smith a blessing to have on the defensive side of the football and for defensive coordinators. There's a lot of stuff that you can scheme up for him and put him in positions to really wreak havoc on offenses. And I'm really excited. And I don't think it's a question. I think he is the best, probably defensive player in Northwest Ohio, and for sure, that's Grant Smith. Yep. Let's move on. We'll talk Archbold a little bit. Again, last year, Archbold finished with 6-5 record, 4-3 in the conference. It was actually the lowest win total since 2016. They did have some more, younger kids step in last year, but they're losing starting quarterback Kurt Kruger. He had a nice season, over 1,000 passing yards, 11 passing touchdowns, and they also lose their top wide receiver in Broden Piercefield. So there's some questions. Anytime you lose your starting quarterback, I mean, that's always a big question to answer. They do return some nice wide receivers, and Morgan Harris, he's a 6'3" junior. Anytime you get height over 6 foot as a receiver, that's nice to have. They return some other wide receivers as well, and Ehringer, Krieger as well. But I'm not sure what we're going to get out of them this year. I think, Coach Dominic does a tremendous job with those guys over there. Another program that, has a lot of kids to come out. And the community's really invested in their football program. But I don't know what they're going to bring to the table.
Yeah, I think anytime you bring a new quarterback in, because obviously you're going to have to replace their starting quarterback, you're going to have to be able to run the ball. We just talked about PH. They're going to have to run the ball a little bit, get established, and then they can open up the passing a little bit. So if they can't run the ball, I think they're going to struggle this year.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. Wouldn't be surprised if Ryder Ryan's one of the top 5 running backs in the league, because you really don't have a choice, honestly. He's got experience. Don't know who your quarterback is. At least we don't publicly know who the quarterback's going to be yet for Archbold. But, Archbold probably expect the same this year as we saw last year, really.
Yeah, and, it's good that they have a guy like Ryder Ryan returning. He's going to be a junior this season. Yep. And Coach Dominic has made comments, too, that they've got to be more consistent in that rushing attack. And, again, that's going to open up things in the passing game, especially for an inexperienced quarterback coming to the table as well. So, Archbold, I think I'm curious to see how they play out in league play. They were tied for 3rd with Delta, which we're getting into here next. I really don't know what they're going to bring to the table this year.
They're one of the few teams that actually has an experienced kicker coming back as well, Rudy Rogers. Big leg on him as well. So I'm a kicker at heart, as you can tell. Anytime I can mention kickers, that's an awesome thing.
We'll talk some Delta football here next. Coach Vickers, again, the man's a wizard. We talked about that last year, had him on. Very, very knowledgeable. And just to see the wisdom he has, he's going to do, great things again with Delta this season. Last year they started the season off 6-1 before they dropped they're dropping 4 of the last 5 games, including the heartbreaking playoff loss to Norwayne in overtime. But again, comes in, turns things around. They have a winning record. Delta's kind of making some noise again. So they do lose guys like Landon Lintermoot. He was their lead running back last year, but I think they're going to be just fine. They got guys like Marcus Nagel, Vincent Martinez, and Gunnar Taylor stepping in. And, I think out of that group, Marcus Nagel is probably going to be, the feature back of that group, having some of the better stats, 567 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns as just a sophomore. So definitely some potential there for him. And again, Delta's going to run that football, but I think we had talked about too what the passing game was going to look like. Last season really was ineffective. They had a starting quarterback that was a freshman in Emmerich Heinemann. So he got kind of thrown into the fire as a freshman into some varsity football. So comes into year 2, which, obviously you're going to see some growth in him as well, or you'd like to see. So guys, thoughts on Delta coming into this season?
Yeah, I wrote some of my notes over the weekend that they only attempted 60 passes as a team last year. And,
wow,
you lost your big horse in Lindermoot, but you bring back 3 running backs with experience. And honestly, just talking the way, old school Coach Vickers is, if he could throw the ball 5 times or less a game, I think that would be a perfect game plan for him.
right.
So, yeah, looking forward to following Delta again this year, expecting some big things out of them.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to talk defense a little bit. They're going to have to be strong defensively. They got all 5 front guys up front are returning. But they're just got to stay healthy. I think that was part of the problem down the stretch last year. They kind of got beat up a little bit playing in, they played Liberty Center and started playing those tougher teams at the end there and got beat up. And then, all of a sudden you made the playoffs and you got everybody kind of banged up. So just got to stay healthy down the stretch.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here. Just a couple other NWOAL teams. Just looking at Wauseon too, finished last year 3-7, 3-4 in conference play. They failed to win 4 games for the first time since I believe 2012. Big thing with them is, they lose top wide receiver Wyatt Smith, first team conference guy. Again, a big target for them. He's an explosive playmaker. That's a huge blow to that offense. But, on the flip side, they do return their starting quarterback in Cale Albright. Honorable mention, NWOAL pick. So there is a little bit of a light there on that offensive side. But again, return 4 starters on offensive line, which is a positive, for their quarterback. But I think kind of looking at some things in their offense, they're really going to have to rely on that passing attack. Didn't really have much of a rushing attack considering the quarterback in Cale led the team in rushing with 276 rushing yards. He's back again for another year, but Wauseon just the last couple of years, they've been, struggling a little bit. So it was kind of interesting to see the coaches picked Wauseon to finish, especially above Evergreen. Evergreen had a lot of success last year. So kind of caught my eye a little bit, but what are your guys' thoughts about Wauseon this year?
Wauseon used to be one of the stronger teams in the NWOAL year after year after year after year after year. Just seems probably the last 4 or 5 years they've fallen on hard times, and I think they're still trying to figure it out. I really don't think they have too many answers really on offense. It doesn't seem like yet, and he lost some experience on defense, but you do have some defensive backs coming back. So defensively should be sound, but I still think they're looking for an offensive identity on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think you hit it right there, Keith. They're trying to find their identity. That they lost it, and then they're still trying to get it back. And I think it's going to be. I think they're probably a year or so out yet.
Let's move on. We'll talk a little bit of Evergreen football. We had them on the kickoff show. Hunter Cole steps in for Coach Bach, who had left to go up to Northview in Sylvania. But last year, exciting season for the Vikings, 6-5, first playoff berth since 1984. Their last winning season was in 2010 and 2015 when they went 5-5 those years, and that was breaking 500. So again, it's just kind of almost been like a revolving door over there in Evergreen. 4th head coach in 5 years, but surprisingly have continued to improve each and every year. So I mean, again, kids have been resilient. Being put into different schemes and different playbooks and stuff like that. Sounds like it's going to be a little bit more consistency this year as Coach Coles keeps things the same as what they were doing under Coach Bach, which I think that will pay dividends for him too. So another year the kids aren't having to relearn an entire playbook and what the head coach is going to want. So keeping some things consistent with that. But again, I think Evergreen's going to have a pretty solid year. I mean, they bring back guys, Bryce Bolger, which we talked about. We joked he's like a 6th-year senior, it seems like. We've been talking about him forever the last couple of years. And this kid's played a lot of football, a lot of varsity football for Evergreen. Second team NWO quarterback. They bring back guys like Will Roots. They're going to have some success there as well, too. So defensively, you look Will Roots was first team NWOAL. Joey Okos, he was a second team defensive lineman, and JJ Johnson, which we got, to meet those guys on the kickoff show too, and are some solid athletes. But guys, what are your thoughts on Evergreen going into 25-5 season?
Yeah, of all the kids we talked to during the coaches show, these were one of my favorite group. Honestly, they had a lot of confidence, and they were kind of actually happy that Coach Coles kept everything normal, and there really wasn't any change to anything they did. So, but as you said, Logan Bryce Bolger has a lot of confidence as well, and he was happy as well. The offense stayed the same, and Joey Okos, I think, was one of the kids we talked to as well. He had a lot of confidence coming into this year as well. So, but yeah, they were so excited to win that, or to qualify for the playoff games, playoff for the first time since '86, and hopefully they can do the same this year.
I really don't have much to add, guys. You guys pretty much covered it all there.
Yeah, and just we'll touch on the last NWL team, and that's Swanton. Just, with Swanton, they've been riding the struggle bus a little bit the last couple of years, and I don't think there's anywhere to go but up for them. Obviously we're rooting for all the area teams, and hopefully they continue to show some improvement. Not really sure what they exactly bring this year, but definitely it's a tough climb when you've been in that hole for a little bit, and you've got teams like Liberty Center and Patrick Henry and Archbold and Delta, and teams like Evergreen that are really showing some leaps and bounds growth over the last couple of years. So Swanton, they're going to have a little bit of a trouble, I think, going into the season.
Yeah, you play in the NWOAL and you won 7 games in 7 years. You're 0-10 last year. I guess you can just look forward to having fun on Friday nights and putting the helmet on. That's
pretty much.
All right. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll wrap things up with a couple other teams coming up.
Under the lights this Friday night. While your team is taking hits on the field, who's got your back off the field? At Batt & Stevens Body Shop in Defiance, we tackle the toughest repairs, from fender benders to full collision restoration. Our iCar Gold Class team scores big on quality and service. Proudly serving Defiance County for over 40 years, with certified technicians, advanced diagnostics, and lifetime warranties. We work with all major insurance providers. Batt & Stevens Body Shop, the home team when your car takes a hit. Visit us at batandstevens.com or call 419-497-3111. Nestled in the heart of Sherwood, Ohio, Crystal Fountain Park invites you to say I do in a place where history whispers around every corner. Surrounded by 28 acres of woods, meadows, illuminated trails, outdoor chapels, a tranquil reflection pond, and fire pit lounges. Whether planning a wedding, rehearsal dinner, or elegant gathering, Crystal Fountain Park blends historic elegance with modern flexibility and heartfelt service. Visit crystalfountainpark.com or call 419-576-1910 today to book your unforgettable moment.
RE/MAX Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer.
Experience award-winning care at Defiance Chiropractic Center, voted first place in the Crescent News Reader's Choice Awards Best of the Region. We offer chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, DOT and sports physicals, and personalized wellness plans. Located at 1770 Jefferson Avenue in Defiance. Call 419-784-2300 today and feel your best naturally.
Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube, and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast. Just a couple teams left we want to touch on. We're going to touch on Defiance, Napoleon, and then we'll go into our picks. So, guys, looking at Defiance this year, again, hit hard by graduation. You lose guys like starting quarterback Brez Zipfel, a veteran that's been there in that program a long time. You lose guys like Anthony Wilder. They're really going to need guys to step up quick. And, talking with Coach Rittenauer, it's first year as head coach, taking over for the Bulldogs. And he's definitely excited, probably one of the most ecstatic coaches we've ever talked to. The dude has so much energy that he brings to the table all the time, but why wouldn't you, when you're a graduate of Defiance High School and you get to coach your, former schools. So he's excited to get things rolling. But like we had talked about in the kickoff show, big thing is they got to find a quarterback and they got to find it in a hurry, and they're going to have to mature because, starting off with Napoleon and then going right into WBL play, there's no leniency at all. I mean, you're thrown into the fire and you better grow up real quick because teams like, Wapakoneta, though we don't cover some of these teams, St. Mary's, absolute gauntlet every single year and very, very physical teams. So, guys, thoughts on Defiance going into this season?
For me, they have to eliminate the turnovers. They were played with 15 turnovers last year. They're going to have to find a way to create more turnovers, try to win that battle. And I think that'll help them out some. But like you said, Logan, they're going to have to replace those key playmakers with Wilder and Zipfel and then move on down the road from that. But I think they have athletes there and they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I got new coach, finished 7-5 last year with a talented squad. A lot of graduation loss, as you guys said, Wilder, Zipfel, Gomez. A lot of inexperience on the offensive side.
Lose first-team All-Ohio player and WBL Defensive Skill Player of the Year and Joey Robinson, too.
So, you have a lot of losses on both sides of the ball. Inexperience in the backfield. Colt Ward, possible quarterback. Chase Camaso, maybe running back. Neither one of those have much experience. And you don't have your 3 non-conference games to get ready for conference in the WBL. You got Napoleon, which everybody on their brother is going to be there. This is a Thursday night game. So then next week, Friday night, hey, your conference schedule kicks right off. So you don't have a chance to have a couple softies in your non-conference schedule. You go right into every Friday night's a fist fight in the WBL. So I think Defiance, Coach Rittenauer's a very enthusiastic coach, but I think they're going to take some lumps this year just with their inexperience and the loss of some key personnel.
Yeah, I mean, they return a couple key offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Tyler Doden-Kiesling, another solid built, lineman at 6'2", 245, and Alex Hinojosa, another 6-footer, 245 pounds. So that's good to have up front, especially Colt Ward's just a freshman this year if he is taking over that role. But the only bad thing is they return wide receiver Jordan Wright. Very talented wide receiver, can definitely make the big play, but you got to have someone get the ball to him too, especially if you have a freshman or a younger quarterback. It may take a little bit of time to develop that connection, but I think one of the guys on the defensive side of the ball that's going to have to step up is Kelton Gibbs. He's a senior this year. Last year had a team high 4 sacks, so he's definitely bringing pressure. Actually, I think he was featured on a couple of our play of the weeks of just mauling people in the backfield and bringing a lot of physicality. So Defiance, definitely is going to have to step up right out of the gate if they want to have a successful season, just because there's a lot of key pieces that they're missing. And, if you can start off the season again with a win against your rival Napoleon, that would definitely help them, set the tone for the rest of the season. Let's talk a little bit about Napoleon. Just moving on with Napoleon, though, they bring back a lot of talent this year, too. And George Eggers, they also lose a lot, guys like Trey Rubenstein, Parker Woods, the list goes on and on. But I think Napoleon is going to have a fair season. I think they learned a lot about their identity, their team last season. Granted, it's a new season this year, but really handling adversity. The regular season last season wasn't what they really wanted it to be. They kind of had some ups and downs. It was a roller coaster of a ride. But that last stretch was something magical. And if I think they can continue with that momentum into this season, those kids got to experience what it's like to play some top quality football against some tough opponents and win some really big games. I think that's going to help them this season.
Yeah, I think you said it, Logan. I don't really have much to add to that, but yeah, they've lost a lot of talent. Owen Espinoza and like you said, just you can name them, Parker Woods, Trey Rubenstein, and the list keeps going. But they're going to be okay, and I think Coach Soiree will get them where they need to be. And I think I'll leave my prediction for when we do our games. So.
Yeah, similar to Defiance, they lost a lot on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of record holders. But hey, you have George Eggers back, and similar to Torrin Knieven last year, I wouldn't be surprised if there's games where he touches the ball close to 30 times a game. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it's you finished 7-5 and lost a lot of key personnel on the offensive side as well. And again, like NLL, every Friday night is another slobber knocker. You got to bring your A game. So,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you guys said. They just bring back a couple other key pieces in Hayden Gherkin and Cole Sarrigan. You know, those guys are really going to contribute this year. But, you know, I think Napoleon will definitely, you know, they'll have a decent season if they can figure things out from the get-go. And like you said, if they're going to probably have to ride on George Eggers. I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes you got to put the ball in the hands of your best athletes and let them go make plays. And that's really, you know, everyone's looking at the paper, and that's where it's showing, you know, a lot of the production came last season, and they're going to try again to have him make those big plays.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think Napoleon will have a fair season. I'm excited to see what they do and, you know, how they started off. Obviously, game one against Defiance is always a big one, and that's a tone setter really for both teams.
Yep.
And it's going to be played on Thursday night right over here at Defiance, really across the road from us.
Yeah.
So, all right. We'll kind of wrap things up. Want to just touch base on a lot of the teams, the main teams that we cover here. Do want to bring up, though, make sure you guys submit play of the week each week, sponsored by Titan Sports. Again, we'll feature some of the top plays from the area, and those can be submitted through social media or email through NWO Sports. The other thing is, too, everyone always loves is the hot takes, sponsored by BSN Sports. So, again, those are your controversial takes, you know, or kind of statements or jabs kind of at some teams, just to spark some good conversation. And we always have a lot of fun with that too. So, but yeah, other than that, the last thing we have for this podcast is our game predictions. So without further ado, we'll get things rolling here and give our predictions. So the first game we have is the big one, and that's Napoleon at Defiance. And that's going to be our NWO Sports game of the week. This one, again, a lot of times can be a flip of the coin. This game's being played at Defiance Thursday night. It's a primetime spotlight game. Looking at both teams, I think with my pick, I'm going to have to go Napoleon. You know, they bring back just a few more athletes, I think. You know, George Eggers being a big one. I think you're going to see a lot of running the football on Thursday night for sure from both sides of the football. You know, with both teams losing their starting quarterback that they've both been, you know, with Espinoza and Zipfel at 2-3 year starters there.
Each. Yep.
So a lot of running the football and a lot of ground and pound attack. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go Napoleon.
I'm taking the Cats as well. 2 straight years with that River Rock.
AJ?
I'm going to go with Napoleon.
Napoleon for me.
And Matthew picked Napoleon.
Oh.
So Napoleon across the board. Next game, we're looking at Columbus Grove at Pandora Gilboa. Again, Columbus Grove and Coach Andy Schaefer coming off another terrific season. I really do. I think they're going to pick things up right where they left off. They got enough athletes coming back. And it's going to be exciting to kick things off. And I think they start things off 1-0. So I'm going Grove.
Dogs.
Columbus Grove.
Grove for me.
Matthew picked Columbus Grove as well. Next game, looking at Montpelier at Antwerp. Two teams, you know, kind of struggled to find their identity last season, but Montpelier brings back a fair amount of experience, you know, led by quarterback Hayden Sharps and Cooley at running back. So at the end of the day, I think Montpelier is going to go into Antwerp and take care of business. Give me the Locomotives.
Locos as well.
Montpelier Locos.
Locos.
And Matthew had Montpelier, so Montpelier across the board. Everyone's got the same picks through the first 3 games. Next game, we're looking at Ayersville at Delta. Again, we know what kind of season both programs had last year, but you know, going into Delta, that can be a tough place to play. I think Delta is going to come out with a win in this one, especially if they have that established running attack. They've got 3 quality backs coming back. You know, Ayersville, they may still be trying to figure things out early on, so give me the Delta.
Panthers for me.
Delta.
And Matthew picked Delta, so Delta across the board. Next game, looking at Eden at Edgerton, another good rivalry game here. We know Eden was hit hard to graduation. They lost guys like Kyler Sapp, again, Radabaugh, top wide receiver. Edgerton, they do return some of their talent in terms of quarterback with Maddox Baker, Carter Gibson, and they return 4 of their 5 starters up front. So I think with that being said, and it being at Edgerton, give me the Bulldogs.
This was a coin flip game to me. If this was at Eden, I probably would have taken Eden. But it's at Edgerton, I'm taking the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I went with the home field advantage as well, Keith. Edgerton.
I like the home field advantage, but I picked Eden anyway.
Oh,
What was your reasoning?
I don't know. I just think Edgerton lost a lot. It's going to take him. I think it's going to take him a couple games to get things put back together.
And Matthew had Eden as well. So first game we were split there. Next game, looking at Fairview at Wauseon, and this will be our NWO Sports broadcast game. Again, I've talked a lot on Fairview, very hyped up to see what they do this season. Wauseon, coming off a tough season last year, they do bring back their starting quarterback in Cale Albright. But at the end of the day, I think Fairview goes in and takes care of business. Give me the Apaches.
Now, these two teams have had some battles throughout the years when Wauseon was, a better program, but Fairview all day.
I am going with Fairview.
Apaches.
And Matthew had Fairview as well. Next game, Patrick Henry at Hicksville. This one I think is pretty clear cut. Patrick Henry is still really reloaded this year, especially when you got a game changer like you do in Grant Smith. Give me the Patriots. I think that they win this one big.
Taking PH.
Patriots.
PH.
And Matthew had PH as well. Next game, Swanton at Paulding. Again, we got talking about Paulding, trying to be one of the top teams in the GMC and are going to be a real contender for a GMC title. I'm taking the Panthers in this one. They win big.
Paulding.
I'm going Paulding as well.
Paulding.
And Matthew had Paulding as well. Next game, Liberty Center at Tenora.
Enough said.
We'll be at this covering it for Tenora Rams Live. But, with what we know what Liberty Center has coming back, if Tenora wants a shot in this one, really going to have to slow things down, run the rock, try to control the clock and limit possessions from Liberty Center. But, it's a David versus Goliath type story here. But I think Liberty Center comes out. I think they win big.
Yeah, I think this is what we talked about earlier was the effort thing. Unlike last year, I think the boys kind of knew they were in trouble right away. And out after the third possession, they just kind of gave up. But I think Coach Becker just preached effort this Friday night. Hopefully the Rams can keep it close, but Liberty Center, my pick.
Yeah, this is one that I actually kind of want to touch on a little bit. Is Tenora didn't look bad offensively against Elmwood.
Yeah.
But they also didn't have much pressure at all up front. And that's a big problem they're going to face this week is Owen Farrell is going to be running for his life probably the entire game just by sheer size and willpower on LC's defensive line. So I'm going to unfortunately have to go with Liberty Center.
LC for me.
And Matthew had Liberty Center as well. So Liberty Center across the board. Next game, New Bremen at Wayne Trace. Again, I think Wayne Trace, like I said before, I think is a big question mark in my books. Really not sure who's going to be, some players that step up for him. New Bremen coming from down south, they play a lot of tough competition. I think I'm going to take New Bremen in this game.
For me, if this was at New Bremen, I probably would have taken them. But weird things always seem to happen at Wayne Trace.
They do.
I mean, just bizarre things. But I'm taking the Raiders.
Raiders.
New Bremen for me.
And Matthew had New Bremen as well. Next game, looking at Archbold at Genoa. This one was tough. I was looking at it on paper. Again, Archbold, another team that just wasn't quite sure. Someone new stepping into the quarterback position with not a lot of experience. They do bring back running back Ryder Ryan. I'm not sure, to be honest, what Genoa brings to the table. Last year, they were 6-5. Archbold was 6-5 last year. But I think I'm going to take the Blue Streaks in this one. I feel pretty confident in them.
I took Genoa.
I'm going to go with Blue Streaks.
Archbold for me.
And Matthew had Archbold as well. Next game, Van Wert at Bryan. We had the opportunity to talk about Bryan a little bit on the kickoff show with Coach Staten. Those kids have been working really hard in the weight room, tearing things up. Being played at Bryan, it gives them a little bit of advantage. A tremendous facility. I think, don't they have the lights that flash and stuff as well too? So brand new turf. But Van Wert, I think they're going to take this one. I believe I saw too, they have like 67 kids coming out to play too, which is incredible to see those kind of numbers. But give me the Cougars.
Van Wert for me.
Cougars.
Van Wert.
And Matthew had Van Wert as well. Next game, Delphus Jefferson at Evergreen. I think Evergreen, this game being at home, I think the Vikings take this one. I like Hunter Bolger and Bryce Bolger and the boys over in Evergreen. So give me the Vikings.
Yep. Evergreen for me.
Evergreen.
Evergreen, because I think Delphus Jefferson is going to be asleep before they get there. That's going to be a pretty good haul.
That is a good, no kidding. Jeez,
That's a long drive.
What is that? Probably hour
at least
plus.
2 hours.
Easily.
Probably 2 hours.
Wow. And Matthew had Evergreen as well. Next game, Hilltop at Ridgedale. Again, two programs, had a little bit of a rough season last year. Hilltop was 1-8. Ridgedale was 2-8. But I'm going to take Ridgedale on this one.
Ridgedale.
Ridgedale.
Matthew had Ridgedale as well. Next game, North Central at Woodmore. Woodmore had, a decent season last year at 5-5. North Central, ever since a couple of years ago, they had that good senior class come in. They've just been, struggling a little bit here of late. But give me Woodmore.
Woodmore for me.
I'm going Woodmore.
Next game, Matthew had Woodmore as well. Next game, Ottawa Glandorf at Liberty Benton. This could be an interesting game. Last year, we saw Ottawa Glandorf really turn things around. Was very competitive in a lot of the games. That defense was one of the better ones in the WBL as well. This game is being played at Liberty Benton. Liberty Benton, I know, has some talent for sure in the Elkert twins. But I think Liberty Benton takes this one, and I think it's a good game to go to for sure.
Liberty Benton for me.
Yeah, Liberty Benton.
And the last 11-man game, Lipsick at Lake. Last year, Lipsick was 8-5. Lake was 3-7. I think Lipsick is going to take this one. Last year, Mark Kirkendall, quarterback, really stepped things up. I think he continues to grow in year number 2. Give me Lipsick.
Lipsick.
Matthew had Lipsick as well. 1 8-man game on the slate, and that is none other than Holgate at Stryker. Again, this one's always a big one between the two schools. I think after seeing how last season went, and Holgate's had just a little bit more success, since going to 8-man, I'm going to take the Tigers.
Yeah, new coach at Holgate as well. Taking the Tigers, Holgate.
And Matthew had Holgate as well. So that concludes our game predictions for week 1. Guys, first podcast in the books. Closing thoughts.
Ready to get her started. See what happens this week.
Hopefully we have decent temperature Friday night, because we know every game especially the Thursday night games, but every game should be packed Friday. Friday night under the lights is back. High school football ready to kick off. So get out and see a game.
Yeah, and you talk about weather. I think I was looking at the weather on my phone, and actually things are supposed to cool off, I think, a little bit over the next couple of days. Friday night, I'm just going to pull this up real quick, was looking like high of 83, low of 60.
Perfect.
You really couldn't ask for much better weather. I think usually the first kickoff of the year, it's like almost 90-plus degrees, humidity. You're
water breaks throughout.
Cramping.
Yep.
If you can start off without having to deal with the weather and all that adversity, that's an amazing thing to have. And, it's just good as a fan just to go sit and watch, because, we're always sweating up in the press box usually too. So that'll help us out as well. But, I'm just excited again to get things going. A lot of great teams, and I'm excited to see, that was a big thing I kept on bringing up. There's a lot of question marks for a lot of these teams, is to see how they grow, how they end up, filling in those roles that were lost to graduation last year, and what kind of season they have. So, GMC is going to be exciting. NWOAL, Liberty Center's on top. I'm waiting to see, someone, or if someone can knock them off, which, that's a tall task in itself. A lot of good football is going to be played. And I'm just ready to get things rolling. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much it from all of us. But just make sure you get out there on Friday night, support your local teams. I think that's one thing too, is, you just keep seeing numbers dwindle, and, both players and fans out there. And, it's really something great. High school football is unlike anything else, where you can go out and, support your local athletes and, your community. So, and
something we'll talk about more in depth later as we go, but we always look forward to getting on the road and hitting the concession stands.
Yes.
Always find a gem like you guys have the past few years.
A lot of good food along the way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors: BSN Sports, Baton Stevens Body Shop, Titan Sports, Fitz and Ryder, Edward Jones and Melissa Stockman, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Crystal Fountain Park, Defiance Chiropractic Center, Northwest Ohio Basketball, Remax Realty and Matt Juice, Tenora Rams Live, and the Drop Zone Pizzeria. Again, we'd like to give a special thanks to Defiance Chiropractic Center for allowing us to use their facility for the podcast. And stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.